mask required in the building based on everybody's participation. Maybe when I take a drink, you get to see the rest of my face. But thank you guys for having me. This is, I would just say, this is your time. I'd much rather this be conversational. I don't have a presentation. I can tell you a little bit about myself, about my career journey, and kind of where I've come from and where I'm at today and what my role is. And then we can really make it a Q&A, anything you want. I get a chance to do this a couple times a year with folks at Co-Consolidated and Red Classic. So it's a lot of fun for me just to talk about the journey. I sometimes forget I'm reaching an age where experience and, it's time to give it to other people. I still think I'm young, but I'm not young. I think I am. So hopefully it's beneficial to you guys. This is y'all time so we can go anywhere you want. You're talking about college, and I was a student one time too. It feels like a long time ago. I went to East Carolina University. I was the first in my family to graduate from school. I had a couple of family members that went to college and didn't finish. Went to school for business. Went as a marketing major, a concentration in marketing, mainly because in the business school, finance and accounting were too boring. Management seemed like, the IT side of things and that space was really not what I was interested in. So I said, man, marketing seems like the easiest of all the business majors. So I took the easiest path, and I had fun with it, right? It's kind of matched my personality. I always thought I'd kind of get out and go into like a sales type role. So when I graduated school, or leading up to graduation, Coca-Cola was interviewing on campus. And this is back in the day where literally went into a room and had sign up sheets and sign up for an interview. They were interviewing for a sales management training. And thinking, hey, Coca-Cola, great experience, exactly the field I want to get into. Just good company name, great start to the career. So I started with them in Fayetteville, North Carolina, many years ago. And I've been with Co-Consolidated and Red Classic, is the subsidiary company of Co-Consolidated, for now 23 years. So I've been with the company more of my life than I haven't been. I've crossed over that stage in my life, which has been really fun and really rewarding. And I could talk for a long time about how great our company is, things that we do. But you guys can ask some questions about that. My career journey really summed up is a couple things: being patient, being up for whatever, and just being really connected and being at the right place at the right time. I never interviewed for a job. It was always, I was in the middle of a job and someone said, hey, I think you did really good over here. And I'd say, okay. And I never said no. Whatever they asked me to do, I just did. And I didn't know any better. I just thought, well, that seems like it's different and fun. And that's good. And I never really looked for opportunities. I just had I was really lucky. That's the only thing it is. I was really lucky. I was surrounded by some really incredible leaders who were very wise and taught me a lot around patience. And, because early on in my career, like most, it was, what am I going to do next? What am I going to do next? And when I was about 26, I realized I got to slow down a little bit. And I just felt let it come to me instead of pushing. And things just started happening. I bounced around. I started in frontline. I was on a truck for a year, basically learning the business, just understanding how the business works. Got my CDL Class A license, delivered on the route, and then I became a manager. And back then, we had record turnover like we do today, so I was on a route for another year. But basically, spent 2 years on multiple routes, whether it was running convenience store routes or delivering to grocery stores or merchandising grocery stores, even working at the firehouse. I was basically like a utility player, just come to work, and whoever didn't show up to work, kind of jumped out. And it was good. It was great to learn the business from the ground up. I have so much appreciation for what I do today to serve folks who are in the business, working in it every day, because I've done that work. It's different today than it was back then. In some ways easier, in some ways harder. But no matter which way you slice it, it's tough work. So I really value the time I spent being in the business, working frontline. Spent time in distribution, supporting a lot of the distribution teams, supporting sales. I spent time in logistics and warehousing. Went into some support roles around routing and network optimization. So I spent some time doing that. I got back into sales and my sales team, the region in North Carolina, South Carolina, which for us is sales operations. It's the ordering and the delivery of our business. And then I got into more of a distribution leadership role as a part of our company. And we were in the middle of some transitions, so I took over some new acquired territories. That was interesting. And then I got an opportunity from Red Classic 2 years ago. And I was leading on the customer service team and really just getting into the business. So after 21 years in the company, I took my first job in a real new company. New email address, new pay stub, new leadership, new culture. And even though we're a sub of our parent company, very, very different culture. Very, very different. So that was a big challenge. It was difficult. It was a removal from a company that I loved and enjoyed into a culture that was a little bit different. I would say that, for those of you in the trucking industry, we had some leaders that were stuck probably in the 90s, 80s style of top down, hammer up people, be tough, even to the point where, women were treated differently based on their roles. A very old school kind of leadership. Now I got the opportunity last year, actually beginning of this year, to get into this role, to lead the company, and man, what a year it's been. We've had a lot of change, and we've had a lot of folks opt out and say, hey, this is not something I want to be a part of. We've had a lot of leadership change, a lot of folks who said, hey, this is not the trucking company I've always been. And a little bit of fear around, hey, we're just going to fold up and go back to being, consolidated. So we've had a lot of change, and it's been great. And our purpose of our company, our mission still remains the same, which is to do what we do well, the code, and see if other people will pay us to do it for that. It's very basic, right? And that's our maintenance solutions and our transportation solutions. So that's a little bit of my journey through school and work. I come from a transportation family. My father spent 40 whatever years in business working in trucking. He started as a terminal manager in Texas, hopped around a couple companies, only 4 in his 40 years. He was mainly in sales and operations. And so I grew up climbing up and down out of trucks at terminals and, talking to drivers, and that was the culture that I was used to. I worked for a trucking company in college, loading trucks. An LTL carrier down here in North Carolina, and I loved it. I just loved being on the docks. And you hear people talk about it, their peacetime is getting on a ride home on cut grass. For me, it's getting on a forklift and moving freight around. That's so much fun. I mean, online it's fun, but it's fun. It's what I kind of grew up doing, and I love that on the coach side too. So my experience with trucking has always been more on the LTL side, and then kind of just growing up in the, I would say, the culture that my dad would kind of share with us. It was a very open environment. Our house was kind of a hotel. His business teammates would come into town, and customers. I would give my bed up to make sure that somebody could stay at our house, and we would entertain. Being around drivers and warehouse forklift operators, and just frontline labor was something we just did all the time. That was probably what attracted me to the coach business, because it's very similar. We're a blue collar company, and that's what we are. And I love it. I love the environment. I love the realness of the team that we have, the people who show up every day to work. Chairman saying, I don't wear much fancy clothes like this. I'm a jeans and a golf shirt kind of guy, and I talk to Jeremy. dressed up for that.
I wore jeans.
But, you know, it's, our company is really rooted in just that. We're about 1,200 employees today. The vast majority are drivers and technicians. And we're a frontline blue collar company, folks who work hard. And the only reason Jeremy and I and the rest of the 200 folks that support the field have jobs is because the folks who are out there doing the work, driving trucks and fire engines. And that's similar to the Coke business. Products don't make it on the shelves by themselves, and we all are painfully aware of that right now. But that's the business. It's very frontline, and it's a culture I've been used to. On the Coke side, I spent a lot of time with our folks out on trucks and just spending time shoulder to shoulder, listening, catching up with the driver and the driver, talking to them, understanding, hey, what's going on? You know, being that advocate for them. What are we doing? You know, what are we doing good? What are we doing bad? Right? We know you got choices. Why you say? Right? I mean, you can go anywhere you want. What's keeping you there? What's making you think about going somewhere else? And you know, we talked this a minute ago. It's hardly ever pay. Pay is it's enticing. It's usually like, I'll entertain pay. Usually when all the other things start to pay. Right? A bad manager, it's bad culture, fearful for the job, fearful that they'll go away, they're putting you in safe conditions, and then all that, then you start listening to other people. Right? So that's a little bit about me, starting out, how I got into this business. I guess I'll share with you a little bit about Red Classic and how we started as a company. I kind of mentioned that about 11, 12 years ago. Coming out of the 08 when the kind of market crashed a little bit, we started to think about in the Coke business, the business wasn't growing as fast as it should have been, based on what was happening in the economy. And our ownership said, you know, what other lines of business should we get into? And it really started with, what do we do well and we can leverage that other people pay us to do? Well, we manufacture product, and we do that really, really well. And so we actually manufacture for the ballrooms and we make money off doing that. We had a data analytics company that works with shopper marketing data that we leverage to help build our plans at Coke. So we started the company to do that. And Red Classic came up. We do maintenance and transportation really, really well. It's highly skilled and technical work. And there's a specialty piece of that. We're running trucks from manufacturing to distribution location full. And a percentage of the time, at least 50% of the time, we're filling that empty. And what if we could fill those empty miles with freight? We get people to pay us for our empty miles. You know, that's what we did in transportation anyway. So we went and we got our license to become a carrier. Come on in. No? Nice to have you. So we got our authority to be a carrier, and we started our first load was with Sunoco out of Hartsville, South Carolina. We have a production plant in Bishopville, and we run all the way to Charlotte and Bishopville, South Carolina. So we started with just an opportunity, and how do we fill the void that we had with business? And we've grown at sometimes a little bit too quickly for what we're capable of. So we had a leader that came in that was entrepreneurial spirit, great leader, took the company and said, we're going to grow this thing and be the next $1 billion revenue brand for Consolidate. And it was a great idea. We didn't have the capability to do that. Where our core focus was servicing Consolidated in the Coke business, we started to grow our external. Instead of being an and, it became more. We only had capacity to pick who do we service. So our service levels with our parent company started to go down. And then our commitments to our external customers, we weren't able to keep them, so we started to get a little bit of a bad reputation. And we lost some customers because we were really choosing which one do we take. Take the one we make money on, because this customer is never going to leave us at Coke. They can't fire us. So we started to create this company that was based on growth. And the danger and pitfall of growth is which growth do you want? Do you want order volume growth? Do you want customer growth? Do you want revenue growth? Or what I prefer is profitable growth, right? I mean, nothing goes to the bank unless it's profitable today. When we were focused on top line revenue. So you hear a lot of companies, tech companies, who the revenues are, enormous, and they don't make money. That was us. Right? We were propped up by our parent company. We were growing and had a bad strategy to grow the company through just exponential revenue every year, and it just wasn't working. Last couple of years, we really shifted our focus into let's get back to our core competency, let's manage our capacity, let's stay within our network, which is very important when you're operating, heavy equipment and expensive equipment that, fuel prices going up over $2 a gallon. So we've gotten back into, let's just stay with what we're good at. And I think we're going to be a better, stronger company. It's kind of a term my wife and I use all the time, about staying in the lane. There's times I get her lane sometimes, she gets my lane sometimes, and say, stay in the lane. Because, I'll do all this stuff, and you do all that stuff, and when we start to cross, something goes wrong. So we're really trying to stay in our lane. We're not trying to be the next JB Hunt. We're not trying to be the next largest trucking company in the U.S. What we're trying to do is the best rate classic. And we know that if we define us as being the best rate classic, it means we're providing exceptional customer service for our parent company, who is our number one customer. We're helping them lower their costs, which is part of our company. And we're also able to take our services to other customers and fulfill their needs and provide value to them. We're very interested in longer term relationships, not transactional relationships. Transactional relationships can benefit you if the market's good, but it comes and goes, right? We all know that. So we're on a bit of a journey. Culturally, we're through a huge transition. When I joined as in this role earlier this year, there were a lot of transportation folks who freaked out about, hey, here's a coach guy leading a transportation company. Well, what in the world are we doing, right? Are we going to be a trucking company, or are we just going to be, a coach delivery company? So we had a lot of leaders who, like I said, opted out and chose they're going to go somewhere else. And it was really good. We had some leadership. I would say that it was leading top down, very forceful leadership, not listening to employees. Sat from the first, felt they knew everything going on, but that's really the fallacy you can really call it. In the leadership, you got to rely on your teams. You got to understand what's going on in the field by listening to folks what's really happening versus what things happen. So we've been in quite a transition. We've had folks like Jeremy who've been just incredible, knowledge-based culture fit, which it's much more about the culture fit and how a lot of people have capabilities, but we fit into a culture, team, be in a team environment, work together, that's when you start our lives. Yeah, so I mean, I'd love to just kind of shift and see if anybody has any questions about any of the topics, and we can go anywhere with it. By the way, I didn't say I'm married. I should have said this again. My wife and I have a blended family. We've been married on 8 years. We have 5 girls. Currently, let's just fast forward to the end of the year, so that's birthday's coming up. At the end of the year, we'll have a 20-year-old, a 19-year-old, 2 18-year-olds, and a 16-year-old. So we have, I have my own little fleet of girls at home. They're women, they're not girls anymore. So that's a whole different kind of management leadership at home that it takes. So that's kind of nice.
You talked about how you were in a transportation company, you went to school for marketing, and one of those bullet points I saw on you about how these large companies offer more than just their core capability, which Classic is a transportation and trucking company. I found a home there in IT. You found a home there with marketing. And I think a lot of students, especially, may look at a company and say, well, I'm an IT person. Why am I looking at a trucking company? I'm an marketing person. Why am I looking at a trucking company rather than a marketing firm? And what do you find it important for folks to understand that these companies aren't just their core capability, but they offer something for each student?
Yeah, sure. Well, there's an IT of everything, there's a supply chain of everything, there's a sales of everything, there's a finance of everything. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. When you think about the school of business, folks are in business school, every business has all this. And it doesn't, there are very specialized degrees. If you're going to be a CPA, it's very specialized. If you're going to be in IT, you're going to be in network or security, it's very specialized. We're in the midst of this right now because we have a couple of girls that are about applying to school. And I keep telling there's so much pressure. There's so much pressure on the school. Where do you go to school? What's the best school? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It matters what fits for you. It fits with your style, your personality, your wallet, your situation in life. Schools do not matter. Yes, there are probably some benefits of being, if you want to be in the Harvard network of alumni, I'm sure there's some value in that. But at the end of the day, when you get into the work world, whatever your passion is, you find a company that fits you, just like a college fits you. And you find the work that you love and the people that you work with. It doesn't matter. Your degree, your qualifications through school, I don't want to get into your eyes cut on this. The school is important. Like it gets you in the door for the interview. But once you're there, nobody cares what you do, right? But work hard so you can get the interview and get through it, right? That's really important. Right? The only thing that matters is to show up every day. I met with some scholar programs a few months ago. Some HBCU scholars that came in and consolidated. And I told them all, I said, this is what I believe. You guys are all very talented. The reason you're in this room is because you're smart. You've got to get up and go and aggressive nature, go apply for this stuff. You separate yourself from everybody else and you're talented. That's great. And you're smart. But talent loses the hard work every day. I see it every day. We have so many talented people who are lazy and they just don't make it. But people who maybe aren't as smart, aren't as gifted as other people, they work hard. And those people who work hard win. And like I said earlier, if you're up for whatever, and you tackle a challenge and you work well with other people, and you're positive and optimistic, and you give back to others, and you serve others, and that's just the folks that win. And it doesn't mean, hey, oh, this person went to Chapel Hill and, this person went to Wilmington or East Carolina. I get teased by East Carolina all the time, right? Easy Credit University. You know what East Carolina is? See? Easy Credit University, right? Or ECTC, right? They don't teach that teacher college. But you know what? It was a great experience for me. I love my college years. I learned all the same things everybody else. But when you get into the work world, you just gotta work hard. And there is no easy path. There's no easy button unless you're gonna win the lottery or somebody hands you, a bag full of money. It's just hard work. And you gotta fight through some of the hard times of a really crappy manager, a crappy team. It'll change. If you don't like where you're working and boss, give it 2 years. The leader change every 2 years. I mean, I've had over my 23 years, I think 17 different leaders. And that's really, really incredible leaders. And that's really bad. And I've learned all those things. But so whatever industry you're going to choose, back to the question, there's a fit for almost everybody in the industry. A great example, HR, Laura Cheryl, before us. She came from health. She knows nothing about drugs. She knows nothing about tax. But she knows people. And she's incredible with people. When she sits and talks to somebody, she genuinely cares about that person, regardless of what their skill is and what their job is. And that's what makes her so good. She's smart, she's intelligent, but she shows up every day to work and she works hard. She's probably one of our hardest working people, which is in HR, right? So it's fantastic. So when you're looking for a fit, when you get out into the world, look for companies that are going to fit who you are, and you kind of look deep into the company about how they treat people, and what are their values, and if they live them out, and you talk to people about what they know about those companies, research the companies, very, very, very important. Some people like big companies, some people like small companies. There's benefits to either one. It just matters how like college, depending on what you fit into.
Obviously, I work in leadership with students with curricular programming. And one of the things I talk to students about is, and I think you pegged it, about hard work. So I'll tell them, don't say yes to everything and bring your A game for 3 days or 3 weeks, and then you tank to a D game. Bring your consistency of a B game. If you're a B person, bring your solid B and be consistent in that. When working with students, one of the biggest challenges that I've had, because we work with everything from early college on campus, so I may have a 16-year-old and I may have a 56-year-old.
Yep.
Both in the same program, both working in student government side by side. What would you encourage, based on your a really vast experience, what are you looking for when someone comes forward to apply for a job? When you're sitting there, what leadership experience are you looking for, or do you encourage them to try to make themselves exposed to while they're growing academically?
I think perspective, just in general life, but certainly in work, perspective is a powerful thing. And you only get perspective through experience. There's a great quote that I've heard recently: "It's experience is what you get when you don't get what you want." And it truly is. Sometimes you have to go through the times, and you have to get experience through observing and connecting. Sometimes you can't get the experience from doing it, but you doesn't mean you can't gain perspective from other people who've gone through it. I think I kind of dumb things down. It's kind of simple, country way of heart, and I look at 3 things. It's want to, can do, which is capability, and have done, which is experience. If I'm going to pick 2 of the 3, I would much rather have somebody who wants to and can do, right? The capability, the job I'm looking for. I don't care if they've done the job. There are certain jobs, if I'm looking for somebody in IT, I probably need somebody who has the experience. But when I'm looking at jobs that are focused around people leadership and managing the business, which may be 2 very, very different things, I want people who are go-getters, excited about doing the job, and have capability to connect, to understand people, to serve people, to put others first, to understand and grasp business processes and routines, have discipline around structure and responsibility, be able to analyze and take action on things. People who come and say, "Well, I've done this," that tells me you're going to take whatever I give you and try to fit it into the little 4 walls the way you got there. And that's not how business works. Unless I'm hiring somebody that says, "Hey, you've implemented something that I need that." And that's a very specific hire. It's very rare we do that. Typically in our leadership roles, we do a lot of promotion from within. And what we look for is how people collaborate with each other. Because if you can collaborate with teammates, you can lead your own team, right? If you're a value-added teammate on projects, if you run your business well, whatever your job is, if you do it well, we look for the capability to do the next thing. So much of it is around people. Leadership is a people business. Fill in the blank on what you're managing, because again, people leadership, manage the business. I've had lots of different businesses to be involved in and operations, but it's all around people. Because the minute you realize as a leader that your people on your team are the ones that make you successful, and it's the other way around, that's when you start realizing that people. It's a really tough thing for a lot of young leaders to understand. One of the biggest fallacies, I see it all the time with young leaders that come in. there's a desire and almost an expectation that a young leader, any leader really, has all the answers. That they sit in the room and they're the smartest one in the room. And I always challenge, say, the smartest person in the room, if you really look at it, is the one that asks the question. Because they never run out of questions. And they're the ones that are driving the conversation. They're engaging other people in the room. They're leading conversations in a way that maybe nobody understands. Because they can take a topic and they can shift it. And those are the leaders who are asking questions, not the ones who are giving all the answers. And I think it's important when younger leaders come into the work world, and I say younger, not in age, but more in that stage of leadership, that it's okay to say, I have no idea what the answer is. You know, what should we do? I don't know. But we always get people in the room to figure that out. And that's a hard thing to get to because you think, well, they just paid me all this money to become a leader, and I must know the answer. They might not be able to do my job. It's actually just the opposite of that. It's kind of counterintuitive. It takes folks a while to understand that.
Your perspective is so different from at least what I'm used to with the leadership that I am involved with. And that's extremely refreshing. Is that the culture across the board, or is this a new culture, or, you know, coming from, you know, in my role, I am still under the good old boy guys.
Yeah.
And so being a female in a new church is
Sure.
very difficult, especially in my position. And they do expect me to know all the answers.
Yeah,
And so when I don't, then I am frowned upon.
Sure.
And so how do you, what would you recommend for a young person, especially who doesn't have the experience and maybe the thicker skin and not take things personally, to be able to overcome that hurdle?
I think, wow, there's a lot of that.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. So I call it the good old boy network, right? The Love a Nation, sometimes where, you know, a lot of older white men in trucking, that's what it is. And we have a young leader who reported to me in my last role. And I told her, I said, hey, we're getting ready to go in this meeting. And we had some of those leaders at the time. They were vice presidents in the company. I said, I don't want you taking your laptop. From me. She said, well, that's how I take notes. I'm like, I know. And because you're a woman, unfortunately, and you have your laptop, you become an editor. And you become the secretary. I said, your value's up here, not here. I said, the minute that you take action, because she's very project oriented. So when somebody says, hey, we need to do this, she'll start taking action. And I said, that diminishes your value in their eyes. And watching her in that without a laptop was hilarious. And Jerry probably knows who we're talking about, but she almost couldn't function because she wasn't used to not having that as her, you know, kind of talking about. But she had to be aware that of the environment that she was in. The culture that put consolidated, you know, our purpose is very clear. It's not our gun, all we do to serve others, pursue excellence, and grow profitably. And there are 12 values, which to me are the most important. They're values of humility and respectfulness and supportiveness, and discipline, honesty, and integrity. You know, to me, that's what I've experienced over time is people who just live out those things every day. And I've been incredibly fortunate that in our culture at the Consolidated, it's not about title. It's very rare you'll see or hear anybody talk about what the title is. I don't think like I just because it separates people and puts them in a different, you know, situation. I get the title is important sometimes. I get that you guys want to know who I am when I come into this. But if I ever go to a food shop and I'm talking to somebody, I'm just stuck. I don't want anybody to throw a title around because I don't want anybody to think that because they're a technician, they're less valuable than somebody who's a manager or a vice president. And the culture I'm used to is a very inclusive culture. We do a lot of work where we get frontline folks involved. We say, hey, what's happening in your business we need to know about so we can help serve you to go fix that. So that collaboration that I've been used to kind of helps pave the way for that humility to say, hey, as a leader, I just don't know. I'm gonna go find out and ask people to do that, right? I would say at Red Classic, we're trying to build that. We were a little bit more top down, a lot more top down than before, where the years of experience in the industry afforded me the opportunity to tell you what was right or wrong, regardless of what was wrong, because the experience is, well, you know, it's like I've lived here forever, so I know what fall's like right now. Well, that's fair, but in the work world, when things change, you can't rely on that experience. What happened 30 years ago, or even, oh my God, 2 years ago. That experience is just not as valuable. So it's a shift. It's a style. Some of it is around how you're structured to win as a team. One of the things we did this year is we created a operating model that required everybody to work together to win, as opposed to this group can win, the other one can't. Like, it is so clear in our business today that we go together, and there are teams working together. That just, you have to hold hands and go. You can't go by yourself. Surely you cannot. So culture is it's a hard thing to define, because in our company, 1,300 employees, 1,200 employees, the parent company all in, we have about 16,000. There are cultures, subcultures. I mean, everything changes when you get out to remote locations, but I think foundationally, the leaders have to live out what they say. And it doesn't matter what you put on the wall. It just matters about how you lead, how you serve other people. That's where you start to see impact in the organization.
We've got a question from Jasmine.
Hey, Jasmine.
Hey, I had a question. You're talking about like leadership skills and like how being a team player is like super important. I'm not sure if it's affected your company as like working in the supply chain industry, but I've heard on the news about like the supply chain like gridlock that's been an issue. I was wondering if it has affected you guys. Like, how have you put those kinds of like team skills to play to help solve that issue?
Yeah, I mean, we're feeling it for sure. Just right now on the Coke side of the business, we're dealing with a CO2 shortage. I don't know if you've ever had a Coke without CO2 in it, but it's not good. We call that Webster.
There's spiders on it.
Yeah, we-
Talk about it.
We've had CO2 shortages. We've had can shortages with aluminum. We're out of water in West Memphis and Memphis in February when the storm hit and the pipe shut down, froze on us. So we've had all these disruptions, not to mention labor shortages, which is driving a lot of where we're at from drivers, which I know you experience. We are faced with challenges right now where anyone who shows up and says, well, this is what you do, you're immediately discredited, because nobody's ever dealt with a lot of stuff. So I think folks are coming to the table today probably with a lot more humility than they ever have, to say, we're struggling, like, we need some help. How are we going to do this? And we have more groups working together to solve the problems than we've ever had. The tools in our tool chest aren't working for the problems that we have, right? We have today problems with yesterday's tools. So in the past, because the Coke business has been around a long time, or the transportation business, there were ebbs and flows, and we always knew that, during these, the low times, you called these plays and they work. We're in a phase now where we're kind of coming up with new plays, and we're not really sure what to do. The key in everything that we've done is we focused on the teammate experience and the customer experience. Because without either one of those, we don't have a business, right? So if we take care of our teammates and we just make sure that we stay close to our customers and be honest with them about, hey, we're gonna leave you out of product, or we're gonna be late on loads, then there's respect in the fact that we're being honest. So those are the two core things that we've done during this pandemic, and what we continue to be challenged with is how do we overcome that by focusing on those two areas. I will tell you that in the transportation industry, the big miss on probably, I don't know the percentage, the vast majority of trucking companies, where are they focused on right now? You're in front.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your question.
What are most trucking companies focused on? Have been
Driver,
through the pandemic?
well, depends on which side you're looking at it. For us, it's the higher, we're 300 plus drivers short. So
And why are they focused so much on drivers?
because customers are screaming, they want the product, they need to get that product delivered.
So, but all of that goes down to one thing, right? Which is the mighty dollar. It is a great market for carriers, right? And we made some decisions last year where we went to a customer and said, hey, we gotta take price on you because we can take our trucks and do something more, make more money. And the customer said, okay, go ahead. We're, that was not good. So a lot of trucking companies in times like this chase the mighty dollar. And they'll do it because you gotta get it while it's hot, which tells me that when times get tough, their business and their company's not structured the way they can make it. So they get out over leverage, which is why in a couple more years, we'll see a bunch of consolidation and trucking companies going out of business because it is get it while you can get it. It's like construction after a hurricane. You go to where the hurricane is and work really hard. All the trucks are at the ports right now, because that's where the money's to be. So
I'd say it was a good time for like owner operators. They're really the ones they're the ones down the board waiting
Yeah.
for the stuff
Yeah.
that should be there. Right?
absolutely. And then in 2 years, they'll want to come back to company.
Exactly.
So I think, Jasmine, to answer your question, it requires a leadership team to have a kind of a full view to make decisions when you have times like this. But I think you have to be founded in something bigger than the problem. Like, how does the problem that you're presented with connect with who you are as a company, what's important to you? And for us, it's the teammate experience and the customer experience. And if we do that correctly, profitable operations will come. I mean, all that happens on its own. But without drivers, without techs, we can't do it.
Are you finding that like the chip shortage, is that affecting you guys as well as us?
We haven't had that hit us as big. We have parts issues. Our trucks are still on schedule. We probably have over as many trucks as you guys do. So our supplier has been able to put us in a good space. We do have some Bendix issues with some of the chip. But we just operate trucks. It's not fully functional.
Some drivers would say that's not necessarily a bad thing.
It depends. I think we've had some, Bendix has been a really good thing for us. And
Yeah.
we've got to
We've got
get,
some drivers who.
sure. I mean,
Love the system.
well, it gets into ego, right? I mean, it's like, for anybody to think they can drive a vehicle, whether it be a truck or personal vehicle, better than the vehicle can help you with, it's crazy. We're not that good. I mean, I don't care how good you are as a driver, like, we just can't respond to those things like other people, like a tool can help us respond to this.
Kind of pick back up with Jeremy was saying, about how there are actually multiple opportunities underneath just what you do. Glad you said that because, we made 19, we're turning 20 next year. I am kind of in that phase where it's like, okay, what's the first thing I'm doing? It's really easy to think, I gotta find one thing I'm doing for the rest of my life. It's really easy to go on that road, but I have to remind myself, first 5 years, 6, even 10, what am I gonna do? What's the first thing? And actually, what I'm studying here, RCC right now, is mechanical engineering. So you kind of caught my ear when you talked about the technical side of grad classes. Not that I'm some crazy, gearhead or anything, but so far, through my studies, I have been more drawn to the software side of things, like design, CAD, 3D model. So what does the technical side kind of look like there? Do things ever get more software based, or is it more just?
We working on a truck is very amazing. So it really is turning on edge. It's getting less and less where all the mechanical things happen without understanding the electronic components of the truck. You can't work on a truck without diagnosing it. So we have a lot of our techs who are older who are struggling with how it's moving to more electrical and, computerized, where you have to be able to be good with a laptop and the systems to do the work on the truck. It used to be, you hear something, you try something, you feel it, you work it, and you're ripping stuff apart and you figure out what's going on. It just doesn't work that way anymore. I mean, things shut off on trucks out of it. Aren't really mechanical, they're just switches. So there's that aspect of it. But the vast majority of our work, we do a lot of PMs, preventive maintenance with, tires, oil, filters, basic kind of maintenance stuff. Then we do some engine rebuilds and we, folks who have that skill set. But most of ours is really understanding how to leverage the tools to understand what the problems are to help us get through those problems. One thing you said is, like, I'd be willing to bet you all the money I have today and that I've ever made in my life, whatever you start doing, you're not gonna finish. But it really doesn't matter where you start, just start. Right? Your first job is not gonna be your last job. Most likely, your first company is not gonna be your last one. I am very unique in that, especially for my age. If I was 65, it's very common for that age to have been with something for a long time. I know none of my friends who have been with less than 5 companies in the 20 years, 25 years we've been out of school. I just don't, it just doesn't happen. And that's okay. And it's not job jumping, it's about growth. I just happen to find a company that I love and I believe in that provided growth for me. There's been other people that work for a company that didn't have the growth opportunities, maybe because they didn't say yes to something, or they went down a very particular path. One of the pitfalls I would say is you don't have to be specialized in something to do. Being a generalist is a great thing. Because you don't really get pigeonholed. Being good at a lot of things, but being great at people will get you a long way. We have folks in our company that are warehouse folks. Started in warehouse, led in warehouse, continue to lead in warehouse. That's what they know. They'll never be in sales. They'll never be in any other company but warehouse or manufacturing. And that's what they've done. But having the opportunity to say, look, I know nothing about this function, but it'd be fun to go and learn and lead and participate in that, so I can gain some skill set, do that. And get something out of it. You'll get something out of it. You'll learn the business, you'll have a broader perspective of how they all work together. Because it's important to understand how IT impacts, our drivers, or, if someone in, like Jeremy's a great example, what makes him so valuable and what he does for us is he knows what happens on the road. He knows what drivers do. You were a driver.
The most valuable piece of experience I have in 50 years of transportation years in IT is my phone. Absolutely. Thank you, Katie, for having worked with me, that I can be on call as an IT person and spec out trailers, because I've been on that.
So it's getting perspective across, and again, remember, perspective is important. You get perspective by either getting experience or being around people and learning from their experience. Because there's no way you can take what Jeremy's done. Maybe you may never drive a truck. Doesn't mean you can't learn about what happens in a truck, or what they go through every day, and understand it. And that gets down into connection. I'm not a big fan of the word networking, because networking to me implies, if I network with you, then there's some value I can get out of knowing you that benefits me. That seems a little dirty to me. What I would like to do is just build meaningful relationships. So I'd like to get to know you, who you are, your family, your background, and then how can we serve each other, right? And that's what, to me, networking is, where you build relationships with people.
We talked about that. I had a podcast with Jasmine, and I said, that's one of the things that I feel like will serve me best, is that I will leverage anyone I know, but they always know that they can leverage me for anything they ever need, and I'm right there to help them. And that's what my networking is.
There's nothing more gratifying than connecting with somebody and you being the in-between someone's need and somebody who has to fulfill that need. When you do that, that is so awesome. And you're like, I know you need to talk to them. And you put those two people together and you watch them form a relationship. It's like like a spark goes off. It is, it's really, really gratifying. It's a lot of fun to do.
How do you apply your core values to your people and still be involved? And I know that's something that a lot of companies do. I want to hear about my people, but it's kind of different.
Yeah, I think it's, well, first of all, if your values, are in conflict with your company operations and how to make money, then I think you gotta look at your values. But your values as a company, it's often misunderstood. You can be an employee-centric company, can be very, very profitable and have very, very high expectations around performance. And you see it all the time probably in sports most often. Nick Saban, if you guys watch Alabama football, and if you're a sports fan at all, the best coaches are the toughest on the teams. And you listen to them and see them on the sidelines or wherever they're at, and they are chewing them out left and right. Now, they're hard on them, and they have a high expectation. But they get a lot out of it because there's a lot of respect, there's a lot of trust. It's about the teammate experience, why it's so important from a value perspective, is it keeps you on the path where when it comes down to making tough decisions, you know where to lead. And it's about doing the right things instead of doing what's easy sometimes. I mean, pandemic shows that. We've had to make some really tough decisions that they were different than we've ever made, but they were right for the employees versus driven by the mighty dollar or profitability, if you will. So I think it can exist. You can be highly successful and profitable and run a really good disciplined operation by serving your teammates. It is not, you don't have to have a high intensity, high stressful environment to be good. You can be caring and relaxed and very serving to your employees. You get a lot out of those. And actually, I think that's how you get stuff out of people. People don't care really how much you know. They just want to know how much you care. That's really a piece of advice my dad gave me years ago. And it's so true. When you get into leadership, people don't really care how much you know. They want to know that when you walk up and down the hall, that you know the name, that you care about them, that you ask them about, hey, how was the football game last night for your son? Or how did your daughter do? I mean, that's what matters, that personal connection. Where I struggle today, in this virtual world, is we've lost community. And you've seen it at the office, right? We're so much better together when we're in the room and when we're talking to each other, we see each other. I get to walk around and see people that I probably wouldn't have a Zoom call with because they're busy. Everybody's calendars are all full. If you got a white space on your calendar, somebody's going to grab it.
We like our teams meetings a lot.
Yeah, we do, and we work well together, which is great, but you can't work with everyone. So your network shrinks, your community shrinks, and then our job becomes who's going to pay you to do that job more, because you have no culture that you experience, there's no community of people you work with, and you become a commodity. You're like, well, if I'm doing this job and I don't do it in an office, I'll just go to the next job and pays 10,000 more because I'm not really missing anything. And then it becomes commodity. It's true in the driver world all the time. You can hop from company to company because you don't experience the culture, which is really hard to do in the truck driving world.
So over the summer, we had some interns that did a fantastic presentation towards the end. And, you know, John Gilreath mentioned, because they said, you know, they just gave us this project and said, you'll often do it on your own. You didn't really get some guidance. And John Gilreath told them, that's exactly what you'll experience when you come out here into the workplace as non intern. And, you know, I think we have a group of folks, Tina Perry, you know, our instructors here that run a work-based learning program and internship program. And they actually have more internships than they have students interested in, and they struggle to get students interested in that. What would you say to students about the value of that and how that can work their career later on, what kind of experience they get?
Yeah, internships by and large are terrible. I hate to say it, but most internship experiences are bad. Because companies don't know what to do with temporary, talent like that, to give them a project to go do. So when I encourage the interns, I said, look, this is your time. You have 6 weeks in our company. If you sit in this queue all day, work on your project, and then go do something, feel like you're bored, it's your problem. You're inside of a company. Go find it. If you're one of the interns was into audio visual development, some of the communication stuff. It was like, I can connect you with that. One of them was interested in purchasing. Go interview the guy that runs purchasing. Like if you sit in your cube all day and do nothing, or work on your project, you get nothing out of it except for that little project. You get into a company, you leverage that company for everything that you can. Say, you should be meeting with somebody every day. Tell me about your leadership journey. Tell me what your challenges are. What do you look for in talent? I mean, you've got a whole company full of folks that you can interview. It's on the job interview to prepare anyone who's an intern to go out into the world for interviews, to understand other leaders. It's connection. It just really is connection. But be a great interviewer of leaders when you get into the work. We've got the emerging leader program going on right now, and I'm sitting with each one of them. They're basically interviewing them. So tell me about this, tell me that, and it's great. They're absorbing what they want to know instead of just spewing out a bunch of stuff for them. So if you get into an internship program, ask for the flexibility to float and just meet people.
That's what that gives you versus just sitting in a classroom all the time. It gives you
Yeah.
that ability to meet and use that area for networking and really learn about the business.
Again, it's perspective. Every time you get a chance to listen to somebody about what they do or see what they do, you gain perspective around different jobs, different experiences, different leadership. Tell me about the worst leader you've ever had. Tell me about the worst work culture you've ever been in. Right? You need to know those things too, instead of what great culture is. Because your experience knows.
On the spring semester.
Yeah.
That internship, I think that'll kind of help. I think that'll help me set my eyes on the career while I'm still figuring out what is interesting. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up.
It's okay to not know what you want to do for the rest of your life. It really is okay.
I have to leave it for the next two taking my lunch break early.
Well, thank you for coming.
I appreciate you talking.
Yeah.
I think said, I think you got a lot of perspective. You got a great guy here.
Certainly do. I didn't bring any cards, but I mean, you guys can get my information from Jerry and, or LinkedIn or whatever, on that, whatever platform works. But if there's anything that ever comes up, I mean, shoot me a note or give me a call and we can talk more about that. So
Yes,
I
sir.
appreciate you coming.
Y'all have a great day.
Yeah, you too. What else are you guys thinking on your list, or what can I do? Answer questions?
I have tons of questions, but I don't know you guys are outside this particular agenda
Sure.
versus.
Sure.
Mr. Barzano or Ashley, if you all have any questions, just feel free to take yourself off mute and just ask away. That's one of the worst things about, I think. You never know if somebody's really wanting it, especially when they have a camera on.
I was at a meeting yesterday and we have a little raise hand feature.
Yeah.
And like 7 people are at Facebook. Which is nice because in the regular meeting, nobody raises their hand. They just don't jump in and down your conversation.
And what we're just trying to move forward.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
She's also one of our Phi Beta Lambda.
So, what degree are you guys saying? You're saying you're going more towards the, okay, right?
I'm doing
This
it's
is,
kind of like an alternative.
Yep.
I'm not-
Yep. Okay. is at NC State. And, she's in the same space. She's in the business school. Yes, she probably could have been an engineer. She's a math kid. And I just believe you're either math minded or not. When you get into business school, you're going to either gravitate towards math or not. She'll probably gravitate towards finance and accounting. It's probably what she'll do, because she just loves math. And calculus is your favorite class in school. You should be doing math stuff, right? And for some folks, it's not math. It's not even kind of the English and writing. It's more, some people just have a skill with individuals and being collaborative. We go through a personality, it's not really a personality, it's a style assessment called DISC. And that's really valuable. We're starting to push that through the organization so that everybody understands where they are and how they work together. So it's simple to understand. And you start to understand when you're working with somebody, their strengths and weaknesses, and how you communicate, that's self-awareness of what you're good at and what you're not good at. Is really powerful. A tendency a lot of times for young leaders is to try to overshadow what their weaknesses are. You just kind of know what they are and try to overcome that by surrounding yourself with people who have those as strengths, which is really a good leadership lesson I learned a long time ago. If you're surrounded with people just like you, that is a bad thing. You got to protect that from you. There's no variety of problem. That's probably true in life in general. But in the work world, if everybody's analytical, then you don't have anybody that has more of that sensing, feeling, kind of side on people, then that will drive to make decisions and run people over. You have too many people that are so focused on teammates that you don't want the business, then you're not running a business. You're running a church at that point, right? It's just a little bit different. So. Good describe myself.
Especially for like who you're not, because he is very data-driven. It's all about the scientific. I'm all about the person, body language, how do we engage, what can we do to make it better? So it doesn't break.
It's kind of an opposite track, but it's really about complementary skills. Like standing in your lane, you know what you're good at. Very few of us, and I'm not one, very few people can be good across everything. Most people are really good at something, and they learn how to adapt their style to other areas that they're weaker. You'll find the best leaders, and I would probably say some of the best relationships and things that are complementary.
The phrase, I'll get out of here with my life reason, gets uttered a lot. Spencer, Spencer, I really appreciate you coming in.
Yeah.
I'm not take up any more of your time unless somebody else has any questions. We've got this on recording. I'm going to throw it in my Dropbox, and then Barb's going to share it with the rest of the students and everything. It's hard to get people a room, but I'm really happy with the way it turned out. We had people here, and you've been invaluable. Barb said thank you very, very much. It's been valuable to the students. I think you talked about a lot of things that are very important for students. And, I think they said that the average age here at the college is like 35. And it's, you talked about it being, doesn't matter where you go to college. And, it matters a lot about people skills and stuff that you learn. We've got a lot of great people in this room, a lot of great people in there. I'm learning from young students like Justin and the faculty that teach me and other people I have involved in the club. And, I can't thank you enough for coming out.
That's my pleasure.
Hopefully we can do it again maybe next year or something like that.
Yeah, I did Jessica, you talked to Jessica.
Yep.
She was excited about that. Y'all are welcome. We did a little bit relax on our policy at work. We can have people come to our office, and we've got a lot of folks that good years of experience who understand that mentoring and helping lead others is a valuable piece of our leadership. So we can serve you all in one. Thank you.
So much.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Yeah.
I don't have any questions.
Well, do you want to follow up for the, we going to do that in the one-off or as a group, even if it's something like this, you know, you guys just come out and ask questions.
Let me know, Michelle. I've got work to do, I'm sure everybody else does, and I just specifically with the Southeast Hospital, get some SGA powers to get in there. Mr. Barzana, thank you so much for coming with us. They not still actually do good. He's our advisor, so.
Okay.
Kind of be
Yeah,
around.
well, I appreciate, the invite and again, if we can serve anyone,
Thank you.
So outside of the conversation of what I was hearing, you mentioned Bendix.
Mhm.
And I'm curious to know what that is, just a technical mindset.
Bendix is a crash mitigation system for drivers.
Okay.
So it's, you know, it's
Thanks,
lane
Stephen.
avoidance,
Thanks, Jeff. I
it
appreciate it.
provides
Yeah.
alerts and braking for